So today we shall study about organochlorine insecticide, also called as chlorinated hydrocarbons. See, these organochlorine insecticides, they are persistent organic pollutants. So what do you mean by persistent organic pollutant? So their persistence in the environment, it will be for a longer period. So that's why they are called as persistent organic pollutant. And these organochlorine compounds, they are the first major class of insecticide which was commercialized and it was widely used all around the world. So that's why they are called as first generation insecticides. And they are very commonly used in agricultural purpose, and they are used against malaria, and they are used as ectoparasiticide also. So they have high propensity for bioaccumulation. See, whenever you use this organochlorine compound, so their residues might enter some animal, and some from animal byproduct to the human beings, and from human beings to the prey. So likewise, the bioaccumulation, the accumulation of this organochlorine compound, it will go on from one animal to another one, so it will enter the food chain. So that's the reason why its usage has been declined. See, for example, DDT. See, the rampant usage of DDT, which comes under this organochlorine compound, so it has caused bioaccumulation and caused numerous hazard. So because of which its usage has been declined. So majority of organochlorine compound usage has been declined nowadays. So the classification of organochlorine compound, so it has been classified into three groups: diphenyl aliphatic compounds or DDT group, and aryl hydrocarbons, and cyclodiene group. So coming to the diphenyl group, the examples are the classical DDT, methoxychlor, dicophol, and BHC, linden, mirax. Under cyclodiene, aldrin, dieldrin, endrin, heptachlor, toxaphene, and the classical endosulfan, which caused so many hazard in the Kasaragod. So in Karnataka also it has caused so many havoc, endosulfan. So in Kerala, right, Kasaragod in Kerala, so it has caused so many havoc. So factors which affects organochlorine toxicity. So first one is age. See, under age, young animals are more susceptible for organochlorine toxicity. And sex, female, they are more susceptible for this toxicity. And this organochlorine compound, they are highly lipid soluble. So because of this reason, the propensity for bioaccumulation will be more in case of organochlorine insecticides. And this bioaccumulation factor, it is least for endosulfan. Endosulfan, the bioaccumulating property of the endosulfan, it is least when you compare it with the other organochlorine compounds. Then group wise, cyclodiene group, toxicity wise, which is more toxic, the DDT group are less toxic. See, even though the bioaccumulation propensity is less for cyclodiene, the toxicity potential is higher when you compare it with the DDT group. And susceptibility wise, cats are more susceptible because organochlorine compound generally they are metabolized by glucuronidation. So because of that reason, cats are highly susceptible, followed by the fish, mammals, and the birds. So birds are also highly susceptible. So if you remember the Rachel Carson in the Silent Spring book, she documented the ill effect of DDT on the birds. So birds are also susceptible for this organochlorine compound toxicity. And coming to the toxicokinetics. See, coming to toxicokinetics, so this organochlorine compound, they get entry through oral route, through respiratory route, through dermal route, gets entry into the circulation, and then do its duty, then go and accumulate in the fatty tissue. The preferable organ is they will go and accumulate in the fatty tissue owing to its high lipid solubility nature. Then also it will get accumulated in the liver, brain, kidney, and also adrenals. So the metabolism, it is mainly metabolized by the cytochrome enzyme, and they will be excreted through urine, feces, and the milk. Since it is excreted through the milk, so it poses public health concern, right? For years together, this organochlorine compound will be excreted through the milk, and it will pose a public health concern also. So we should be very careful in this organochlorine toxicity. So that's why its usage has been declined due to this public health concern. So after years also, when they when they tested the milk, so it has given organochlorine residues. So public health concern. Then what is the mechanism of action of organochlorine pesticides, insecticide? So the major mechanism of action is it interfere with the sodium channel opening. So you know the sodium channel, so it is very important in the production of action potential and in the propagation of the action potential. If there is any interference with the opening of sodium channel, definitely it will halt the propagation of action potential. So we will see what it will do. See, the first primary mechanism of action is it slows closure of the sodium channel and inhibits the potassium channel opening. So you know in the action potential the sodium channel has to be opened, so that phase we call it as depolarization phase. Once sodium channel closes, the potassium channel will be opened, that phase we call it as repolarization. See, what it's doing is it is slowing down the closure of the sodium channel. That means sodium channel will be kept open, and coupled with there is an inhibition to the opening of potassium channel. So what will happen? There will be continuous opening of sodium channel. As a result, there will be persistent depolarization. You know, persistent depolarization in turn it will lead to increased neuronal excitability. So this type of interference, it will be more common in sensory nerve when we compare it with the motor nerves. That's the first primary, that's for the first mechanism of action. And the second probable mechanism is, which is related to the cyclodiene group to which endosulfan belongs. It mainly targets the GABA receptor. So it acts as an antagonist of GABA receptor. So you know GABA receptor is a ligand gated ion channel. So as soon as GABA binds to the receptor, there will be opening of the chloride channel, which brings about the hyperpolarization, and the net effect will be excitatory or inhibitory. The net effect will be inhibitory in nature. It is an example of inhibitory neurotransmitter, right? So when this cyclodiene antagonizes the GABA receptor, what will be the net result? Inhibition of an inhibitory receptor will lead to uncontrolled excitation. So that will be the second probable mechanism of action. First one is increased neuronal excitability due to persistent depolarization caused due to persistent opening of the sodium channel. The second one, antagonism of the GABA receptor, there will be uncontrolled excitation. And the third mechanism of action, it changes the metabolism of certain neurotransmitters, central neurotransmitters like serotonin and noradrenaline. It changes the set point in the hypothalamus, and the animal will suffer from hypothermia. So there will be increased body temperature in case of organochlorine compound, whereas in organophosphorus compound you don't find this hyperthermia. And the fourth mechanism of action is it's an endocrine disruptor. See, for example, DDT, it's an estrogen receptor agonist, and the metabolite of DDT, DDE, it inhibits androgen receptor, so it will affect the male reproductive system as well. So this will be seen only during the chronic toxicity. You will see this mechanism of action. So what are the four mechanisms of action? The first mechanism of action is it interferes with the opening of the sodium channel, persistent opening of the sodium channel. There will be uncontrolled excitation. Second one, antagonism of GABA receptor, again uncontrolled excitation. So what is the third mechanism of action? Third mechanism of action is it interferes with the metabolism of certain neurotransmitters like serotonin and noradrenaline. It changes the set point of the hypothalamus, increased body temperature. And fourth one being, it is an endocrine disruptor. So the DDT causes, it is an agonist of estrogen, and it affects the male reproductive system as well. And the clinical signs, what are the clinical signs that we see in organochlorine toxicity? So clinical sign divided into acute and chronic toxicity, where acute toxicity are important. So initially the animal will be timid, hypersensitivity will be there, and the animal are apprehend. So slowly there will be starting of twitching, starting from eyelids, face, neck, moves on to forelimb, hind limb. Then there will be restlessness. Then the animal loses control over its movement, moves in circle, and there will be abnormal posture. And this abnormal posture, like the animal looks resting the sternum on the ground, or it keeps its head between the legs, or head pressed against the wall. And this abnormal posture or moving in circle or abnormal movement, you don't find it in organophosphorus compound. Other things will be there, twitching will be there, fasciculation will be there, convulsion will be there, but abnormal posture abnormal movement or paddling or chomping of jaws, we don't see it in organophosphorus compound. Whereas here you find tonic-clonic convulsion, then paddling, then chomping of jaw coupled with there will be hyperthermia. And then along with that there will be frothy salivation, mydriasis. See, in organophosphorus compound there will be myiasis, here there will be mydriasis, diarrhea will be there, then tachycardia. There it is bradycardia, here tachycardia will be there. And death here due to mainly respiratory failure. Then chronic toxicity, you get intermittent stress, decreased weight gain, decreased appetite, decreased milk production. And birds, you know the birds of prey, Rachel Carson, she documented in the Silent Spring book, where which bird species affected with DDT toxicity. It was the bald eagle, which is the national bird of the United States of America. So that bald eagle got affected, so its population vanished. So for certain years there was no population of bald eagle around the areas where DDT has been sprayed. So what are the clinical signs in birds? There will be thinning of eggshells, decreased hatchability. So these are the classical clinical signs of organochlorine toxicity. Then post-mortem finding, so non-specific post-mortem finding. Based on that, you cannot rely those post-mortem finding for diagnosis. So diagnosis, history of licking this one or history of eating this organochlorine based insecticide, then classical clinical sign. Apart from that, you can estimate the organochlorine compound. The qualitative or quantitative estimation from liver, kidney, brain, fat tissue and milk are the important samples to be collected. So by various molecular technique you can find out this the estimation of you can find out the presence, and quantitatively you can quantify the amount of organochlorine insecticide. And the differential diagnosis, see I have grouped this differential diagnosis for assignment question. So there are several differential diagnoses, some of which we have already covered, some of which yet to be covered. So lead toxicity, what are the differential diagnosis point? You write 4 differential diagnosis point, you can differentiate lead from OC toxicity. So likewise strychnine, 2 points, you write 2 points about the things which differentiate strychnine from OC toxicity, and 4 points between OP and OC toxicity. And urea and salt poisoning, later we are going to cover it, okay. And the treatment for organochlorine toxicity, there will be no treatment, there is no specific antidote for organochlorine insecticides. So symptomatically you can give sedatives and anticonvulsants. See, among sedative anticonvulsant, which are the preferred ones, you can go for benzodiazepine, which is the benzodiazepine commonly used, diazepam. Then phenobarbital, you can go. So you know the action of benzodiazepam, they are benzodiazepines. So they are having GABA agonistic effect, and since it is a sedative, it decreases the body temperature. And phenobarbital, you know, it is a microsomal enzyme inducer, it induces the enzyme, and you know the metabolic pattern of the organochlorine compound, it will be metabolized by the CYP enzyme only. And epinephrine, atropine should not be used here. So that's also an assignment question, why epinephrine, atropine should not be used in organochlorine toxicity. So apart from this, you can give activated charcoal, you can give saline purgative. Why not oily purgative? So lipid soluble in nature, so no oily purgative. And some important points, methoxychlor is one of the organochlorine compound which are still used, okay. Then endosulfan, so generally they don't get accumulate, the bioaccumulation property is not there for endosulfan. Then assignment questions, write 3 points which differentiate from organo, that I told you. Then why epinephrine, atropine not used in organochlorine toxicity. Silent Spring book documents which toxicity. And the 4th assignment question, abbreviate DDT and DDE. So what is the abbreviation of DDT and the DDE, okay. So the next topic is the carbamate insecticides. See, this carbamate insecticide, it represents third major group of pesticides. So after World War II, so it has been discovered carbamate insecticides, and this carbamate insecticides is a very commonly used insecticide right now apart from pyrethroid group. So it is having, why it is commonly used? Because of low mammalian toxicity and reduced environmental toxicity. And what is the mechanism of action of carbamate? It is a reversible inhibitor of acetylcholinesterase enzyme. So it is the contrasting insecticide which causes irreversible inhibition organophosphorus compound. So that's why its action is similar to organophosphorus compound. So structure, so it is having an ester bondage, it is having an amide bondage, so that's why it is called as mixed ester amide. And functional group, so the entire functional group we call it as urethane. And these carbamates, they are not sulfurated, so you don't find sulfur in their structure, so probably that might be the reason why it doesn't need a toxicological activation. See, when you compare it with organophosphorus compound, so there is an thioorganophosphorus compound, right? So thio-OPCs, so they need toxicological activation, so they were grouped under indirect acting organophosphorus compound. So thioorganophosphorus compound, they have sulfur group, so that's why they need toxicological activation. Since it doesn't possess any sulfur group, it doesn't need any toxicological activation. That means directly it will act on the target. And these carbamates, they are derivatives of carbamic acid. So classification, they are classified based on chemical structure into naphthyl carbamates, phenyl carbamate, heterocyclic methyl carbamates, heterocyclic dimethyl carbamates, and oximes. So oximes, you should not confuse with the reactivator oximes. And naphthyl carbamate, the example is the carbaryl, phenyl carbamate, propuxer, and heterocyclic methyl carbamate, pyrrolon, and dimethyl carbamate, carbofuran, oxime, aldicarb, methomyl, and thiodicarb. And the assignment question, first assignment question is, write some popular brand names or trade names of this carbamate insecticide. So what is the mechanism of action of carbamate insecticide? See, mechanism of action, you know, it reversibly inhibits the acetylcholine esterase enzyme, and you also know there are two sites in the acetylcholine esterase enzyme. Which are the two sites? One is anionic site, esteritic site. So what this organophosphorus compound do? It will bind to the esteritic site, whereas this carbamate, it binds both to anionic and esteritic site of the acetylcholine esterase enzyme, and forms a complex by a process called as carbamylation. Whereas organophosphorus compound, it binds with acetylcholine esterase enzyme by the process of phosphorylation. So here carbamylation, there it is phosphorylation. There it binds only to the esteritic site, here it binds both to anionic and esteritic site. And once the carbamate binds to the acetylcholine esterase enzyme, if you remember, see the normal catabolism of acetylcholine. Acetylcholine binds with the acetylcholine esterase enzyme. As soon as acetylcholine binds to the acetylcholine esterase enzyme, it gets converted into the choline and acetyl-CoA, right? Choline and acetylated enzyme, and this acetylated enzyme will be hydrolyzed to regenerate the enzyme. So the same thing will happen here. So as and when carbamate binds the acetylcholine esterase enzyme by carbamylation, then the decarbamylation process, it will also act faster, and this decarbamylation, that means the hydrolysis of the complex, it happens faster than the OP compound but slower than the acetylcholine. See, the process of decarbamylation, it is faster than the organophosphorus compound. That's the reason why it is reversible, and it is later, and its dehydrolysis is, it is late than the acetylcholine enzyme. Okay, so when the toxicity develops due to carbamate toxicity, when the rate of carbamylation exceeds the decarbamylation. So here also the same net result. When it inhibits acetylcholine esterase enzyme, the level of acetylcholine will be increased, and this is the culprit which causes the toxicity, which leads to toxicity. Then clinical signs. So what are the clinical signs you are going to expect? The same clinical signs what we see in the organophosphorus toxicity, but the severity wise and the duration wise, it will be less than that of organophosphorus toxicity. And luckily we don't see organophosphorus induced delayed neurotoxicity. There will be no delayed neurotoxicity in case of carbamates. Postmortem finding similar to organophosphorus compound. Then diagnosis, how to differentiate between organophosphorus compound and carbamate. See, as far as this is concerned, I don't bother about to differentiate between organophosphorus compound and carbamate, because the treatment remains the same. You give atropine to OP and atropine to the carbamate. Then why we should differentiate between OP and carbamate is, so make sure you should not give the reactivator. See, if you give reactivator in a carbamate toxicity, so it might lead to it might aggravate the condition. So that's the reason why we need to differentiate between OP and carbamate toxicity. Very difficult, only through estimation we can do that. So unless quantify acetylcholinesterase content at different level, we cannot differentiate OP and carbamate. So what to do? See, after 6 hours, you estimate the amount of acetylcholinesterase. After 10 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours, 24 hours. See what will happen in carbamate toxicity. I told you, carbamate binds to the esterase enzyme, then undergo hydrolysis faster than OP compound. So by the time it reaches 24 hours, the acetylcholinesterase enzyme will be regenerated. Then the amount of acetylcholinesterase, when you estimate at 24 hours level it will be increased obviously. But for organophosphorus compound, if you estimate esterase at 6 hours and if you estimate esterase at the 24 hours, at both the time the acetylcholinesterase level will be decreased only. So this will clearly differentiate between OP and carbamate toxicity. For that we need to undergo this laboratory testing. So treatment. So what will be the treatment for carbamate toxicity? So obvious treatment. If the action is due to the increased level of acetylcholine, obviously the treatment will be giving atropine sulfate. So that will be the specific antidote given alone. So not a reactivator. We are giving only atropine sulfate here. So what will be the dosage? Same dosage schedule as that of organophosphorus compound. Then reactivator. So what is the question of reactivator? You cannot give reactivator in carbamate toxicity. Why we cannot give reactivator? Or in other sense, reactivator does not work in carbamate toxicity. Why? Why? Because carbamate binds both to anionic and esteric site of the acetylcholinesterase enzyme. So if you remember, in organophosphorus compound, anionic site is vacant. So when we use this reactivator, it will go and bind to the anionic site and do its duty. Here there is no vacant site, so it cannot bind. So what this reactivator will do, if you give it to the carbamate toxicity, it will go and block the acetylcholinesterase enzyme and it will further aggravate the condition. That is the reason why. So these are contraindicated. You cannot use a reactivator in carbamate toxicity. That's the reason why we have to differentiate. See, based on laboratory thing, we can differentiate OP and carbamate. And another one is through history. See, farmer correctly tell, so this is the can or this is the thing the animal has taken or ingested. So there you can differentiate OP and toxicity. Then what are some differences between organophosphorus toxicity and carbamate toxicity? See, organophosphorus compound, they are derivative of phosphoric acid, carbamate derivative of carbomic acid. OPs, some of the OPs are sulfurated, carbamates are not sulfurated. So that's why we need lethal synthesis in OP compound. It's not required. The toxicological activation is not required in carbamate. So it's act directly. So OP, irreversible inhibition of acetylcholinesterase enzyme. Carbamate, reversible. OP bind only to the esteric site of esterase. Here it both to anionic and esteric site. And organophosphorus compound, it inhibits both acetylcholinesterase enzyme and also there are some pseudocholinesterases like butyryl cholinesterases. So it will inhibit that also, organophosphorus compound. I forgot to mention this under organophosphorus compound, you note down. So it inhibits both acetylcholinesterase and also pseudocholinesterase. Along with that, if you remember, it also inhibits neurotoxic esterase which lead to delayed neurotoxicity. Whereas carbamate, it only inhibits acetylcholinesterase enzyme, no pseudocholinesterase enzyme. It doesn't inhibit pseudocholinesterase enzyme and it also does not inhibit neurotoxic esterase. Then the hydrolysis of phosphorylated complex, it is very difficult. See, once there is formation of covalent bonding or once there is aging, there is no going back, there will be no dephosphorylation. Whereas in case of carbamylation, so after carbamylation, the hydrolysis process easily takes place. Then the process of binding OP to the enzyme, we call it as phosphorylation. The binding of carbamate to the enzyme, we call it as carbamylation. So here we have to use reactivator along with atropine sulfate. Here only atropine is used, no reactivator is used. Indeed, they are contraindicated. So here there is a process of aging, there is a process of delayed neurotoxicity. You don't see that aging and delayed neurotoxicity in case of carbamate. So these are the difference between a OP compound and a carbamate toxicity. So what are the assignment question? Name 4 popular brands of carbamate, trade name. Then carbamate toxicity is more dangerous than OP toxicity. True or false? See, carbamate toxicity more dangerous than OP toxicity. Then toxicity potential of organophosphorus compound, organochlorine compound and carbamate. So in the sequence you have to write. So which is more toxic? Whether OC is more toxic than carbamate, more toxic than OP. So like that sequence you have to write. Then atropine is the only antidote for carbamate toxicity. So if that is true, justify it. So justify with 2 to 3 lines. So in 2 to 3 lines, you justify the answer. Atropine is the only antidote for carbamate toxicity and all the assignment. So you write it in the comment section only. Okay. Thank you.